I have one more. We exist in a new political order. The old way of my good friend across the aisle, it doesn't exist anymore. When is a bridge too far for elected officials to stop advancing the agenda of Donald Trump?
Right now, too many people's voices are not being heard. You know what Jefferson said. Jefferson said, when people fear their government, there is tyranny. When the government fears its people, there's liberty. Well, there are a whole bunch of senators here. How do I know it? Because they whisper it to me in the elevator that disagree with what Donald Trump is doing.
So many of you know the other day, David Pakman and I, if you follow us on social media and you see, and I think I've talked about it because I talked about it because I played a little bit from our Alex Padilla interview. We were on Capitol Hill. We interviewed a couple of members of Congress in the House and senators, Cory Booker and Alex Padilla, as I've talked about, Tina Smith, Elizabeth Warren. It was a great set of conversations. And online, when I posted a photo of me and Cory Booker, look, I've been critical of Cory Booker. I'm still critical of Cory Booker. And I don't expect for you to take my opinion because I say it. You don't know me. I mean, you know the all of the things that I've said, and you watch whether I'm a hypocrite or not, and whether I back what I say, and if I'm consistent in my views. So I think many of you know me well enough to have a little faith in what I say, but I would never say, just take my word for it. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. Test the veracity of my statements. Try what I say with other facts. Make sure that you really believe what I'm saying. Fact check me, right? So I posted this online. I just had an inspiring conversation with Senator Booker. Stay tuned. And this is just one of many, 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 many comments across all the platforms that this picture got posted on. This guy said, oh, Jesse, I thought you were better than that. To which I said, why don't you just wait until you see what I asked before you start feigning like you're disappointed? Because wouldn't you want someone with a platform? I mean, if you had the platform I had, you would be saying, I would love to get in front of Cory Booker and ask him a question. I would love to blah, blah, blah. So if you think that I just sat down with Cory Booker and was just like a fawning sycophant, you got me all wrong. I didn't go in there and get him in a headlock and like, why did you vote for Jared Kushner's dad? But I certainly asked in an indirect manner because it wasn't the forum to be like shoving it in his face. Also, I sat down with this man and looked into his eyes. He looked into my eyes on the verge of tears, talking about how much he loves this country. He makes decisions based on what he feels is right for his constituency, for the country, for the world, to bring us together. He's hopeful about being able to right the ship and change the relationship between Democrats and Republicans. I think that ship has sailed. I do. He doesn't. He thinks differently about these things. He has more of a John Lewis idea about hope. I am an optimistic person. I don't share his level of hope. But let me tell you, Cory Booker is not some sinister, malign force in American politics. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, but watch this exchange. This isn't even the whole thing. I haven't decided how I want to put out all of the interviews in their full, uncut, unedited form. But I did, not just once, but twice, I came back to the well to ask about what bridge is too far. What does he say to people who are upset with the continuing to support the agenda of Donald Trump through voting for his legislation, voting for his nominees? It's me asking it's him finishing an answer. I ask the question, Pakman gets a question in, and then I come back to it. Like the interview's over, and I go, no. One more thing. And I go back. I hope you appreciate the effort, but I also want you to listen to Cory Booker and watch him when he answers, because this is a genuine person. It's why I reserved super harsh criticism when I bitched about him voting for Charles Kushner. Anyway, I've gone too long. I want to play the rest of this. I want to know what you think after you've watched this, because it's going to cut and then it's going to be the end of the video. After you watch this, comment below. While you're watching it, comment below. Let me know what you think. Call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054, and you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you. I will see you next time. Watch this. And look, I'll be around this weekend. I'll be around next week. Maybe we can double back and have another conversation about it. Maybe I'll go live. Maybe I'll get another opportunity to sit down with Cory Booker. I would love that. He doesn't seem like he's afraid of a conversation. So watch this from just the other day. Me, David Pakman, and New Jersey Senator Cory Booker.
And so I honestly, the suffering in the world right now, from Ukraine to Gaza to nobody's talking about Sudan, the greatest. And I know the Americans that used to be there trying to provide aid and support that are no longer in Sudan. I was standing there on the Chad-Sudan border seeing the horrors of human suffering that have now been pulled away. And so today is a day where I'm just like keeping it together, keeping fighting, keeping whacking at the wall, but my heart's broken and my spirit is struggling. But I will tell you this, there's too much on the line for us to stop fighting every day to keep trying to win this battle.
Let me piggyback off of that. I think that, it's a great segue because so many people in the party, my audience, I'm certain David's audience, are so disappointed right now, or disheartened. You talked about going from disappointment to disappointment and trying to keep your resolve. What do you say to my audience that want resistance, they want a fight, and they want people to be standing up to Donald Trump? What's the plan going forward to stop leaning into allowing Donald Trump even an inch by voting for his legislation and his agenda and his nominees? When are we going to actually be an opposition party and not the minority party?
So I want to answer that question in two ways. One, and I'll be as brief as possible. So as the only senator that goes home to a community, black and brown community below the poverty line, where we don't mistake wealth with worth, where there are struggles going on that so many Americans face from all backgrounds, but we don't talk about enough. And so in my community, you see the ravages of gun violence. And by the way, I always tell people this, when I was mayor, all my shootings except for one were done by people who illegally acquired guns. And this is a president that is tearing down the ATF to enforce our gun laws in order to have more money to abduct people off, more resources to abduct people off the streets who no threat to us whatsoever. And I'll never forget my tenant president when I lived in the high-rise projects, whose son was murdered in the building in which I would eventually move into, who just always taught me that what real hope is, I've been shattered by the children that I knew, all the kids that used to hang out in the lobby. I shouldn't say all, a lot of the boys that used to hang out in the lobby, Hassan Washington, I can go Shahad, all are dead right now from gun violence. And yet somehow Miss Jones and others would say that real hope is just not letting despair have the last word. So the first thing I just want to tell people is, do not let him have the last word. Do not let him be the main character of this story. Keep the focus on the fight. Keep the focus on the people you're fighting for. Let them be your motivation. Now, as far as the larger Democratic Party politics, we as a people, all of us have an obligation to find more creative ways of fighting this battle than the typical stuff. I don't know, as an opposition party, you and I can disagree on tactics, but much of what we're doing here is not breaking through to the larger public. I'm coming from a hearing. Much of what I said there, as passionately as I said this, not breaking through. We've got to find creative ways of helping the folks that are on the sidelines right now get into the game. Because King said this, that we have to repent for is not just the vitriolic words, violent actions, the bad people, but the appalling silence and inaction of the good people. And so the strategies that I always try to tell my team we've got to do is fight them in the courts, fight them procedurally in every way we can, but we've got to find a way to be an ignition point and get more people understanding what's at stake and more of the good people into the game because we outnumber them. I know we do. And so that's what I'm pushing my colleagues and others. This is why we did the 25 hours on the floor. This is why we did the sit-in on the steps. This is why we're already plotting what are the next good trouble we're going to do to try to get more people activated and engaged.
Is there or are there specific either policy or action items that you think would be most effective at getting people together in the context that, for all of our criticisms of the way that MAGA has run politics, Donald Trump is able to come up with some ideas that really coalesce people. They're bad ideas. They're based on often incorrect information, but whether it's trade or immigration or crime, they get people united, putting their smaller differences aside and voting together to win elections. After the election, it's haywire, right? But for the purposes of winning the elections, they've come up with these kernels. What are they for the Democratic
Well, so
Party?
I hope you guys will let me come sit down with you before the next election and a year from this November. Still a long way away, but I'm gonna just put a bookmark to tell you that we had better policies as a party. When you polled them independent of the people, more people agreed with our policies. But he was a better salesman.
Yes.
He was he was communicating in spaces that we didn't even communicate in.
Yep.
You know, they were on Discord and Twitch. They were doing the kind of communications that we should have been doing. So they had a better they had a great messenger, whether you like him or not. They were using the mediums. And then the messages. And part of that message is, do you trust me enough to know that even I'll do the things I say I'm going to do?
Right.
And I think that both parties have lost the trust game. Why? How do I make a statement like that? Is because you basically had two people. One got 49.7%. The other one got 49.3%. Most of America the majority of Americans voted against both candidates. There wasn't this like wave election where I believe that leader has captured my moral imagination, makes me feel in my heart that their vision of America includes me and my family. And so if we're going to be a Democratic Party, it's not just the policies, but I want to be able to say to people, this is a shitty country to raise a child in. We don't give maternal care. We don't give paid family leave. We push women out back into the workplace a week or two after they've had their kid. It's more expensive in most states to have childcare than it is to go to state tuition college. That we are the worst on things like giving tax breaks to working class people. We give them all to the policies. We need to have the messages, but we're losing our faith as a society in the very idea of the American dream. And the next leaders need to be able to redeem the dream and restore the trust that we can do something. Now that's electoral politics. My fear right now is how many thousands of Americans will die before the next election because they don't have health care. How many thousands of Americans will die because their emphysema or their asthma is going to get so much worse because of the particulate matter that Donald Trump has allowed polluters to pay. How many public lands that from Idaho to New Jersey are they going to give away to oil companies and others that we can never get back together? Right. I'm worried that between now and that election, the harms that they're going to do are going to become irreparable. They're going to cost people's lives. They're going to cost people's livelihoods. There's already an extinction level event going on for small businesses in this country because folks don't realize that his tariffs have made the baby carriage in the back seat hundreds of dollars more expensive, and that have hurt those businesses that can't pass along those charges. So that's why I get this question all the time and it pisses me off, but I have to answer it to people when I'm sitting with a reporter, usually more mainstream media than folks like you all, and they say to me, what are you going to do to save the Democratic Party? It polls lower than colonoscopies and cockroaches. And I say to folks, I am not interested in saving the Democratic Party. Right now, I'm interested in serving the American people, not a frickin' party.
Yeah.
And I think actually in that answer is the secret for the Democratic Party. Because if we're all concerned about Democrats, screw that. Americans out there, most of us are barely affiliating with either one of the two parties now. They're just trying to make a way for their family. And we've got to get back to having leaders that are more concerned with people than parties.
Senator, thank you so much.
I have one more.
Please.
I love all of that.
Yeah.
But listen, we exist in a new political order. The old way of my good friend across the aisle, it doesn't exist anymore. So when is a bridge too far for elected officials to stop advancing the agenda of Donald Trump?
So, look.
Because we want a good partner in governance, and you don't have that now.
Yeah.
We're not governing if you're bending the knee to, not you,
Right.
specifically.
Right. But I want to address that because it has visited upon me. Like, so I'm trying to anonymize this, but there was something really bad happening to Americans working for government abroad. And I was able to reach out to somebody in the Trump administration that's name's not a necessarily household name, but I had that relationship. I'm not stopping him from doing a lot of this stuff, but the fact that this person knows me to be an honorable person and somebody I supported, even though I don't support the president, I was able to get that reversed. And so I hear people oftentimes saying we need moral absolutism. People want that right now. And I am willing to, I just need to tell folks that what we need is the best strategies to deliver results for people. And we may disagree on tactics, but if we start within our party creating this sense of moral absolutism, it's going to hurt our coalition. Because if everybody in your coalition agrees on everything, your coalition is not big enough. And so I've shown in my career from my early days as a city councilman doing 10-day hunger strikes and fighting, living in a mobile home, I will go to great extremes in my service, but I'm not always going to agree on everything. Right now, I don't want to become Donald Trump just to beat Donald Trump. I was running for a town hall stage in Iowa when I ran for president in 2019, 2020, and I'm about to jump up on the stage and a big guy, I'm a former tight end for Stanford, this guy looked like he was a former linebacker for Iowa State, and he goes, "Dude, I want you to punch Donald Trump in the face." And I look at him and I go, "Dude, that's a felony, man." Right. and so I asked him if I could tease him. I jump up on the stage and I say this to a huge crowd of people. I said, "This guy said to me I should punch," and everybody roared in applause. And I was like, this is going to be a short run for president, but that's not how we win. Now, this is a big fight. People like, oh, when they go low, you go high, da, da, da. I'm sorry. I have an Oscar-nominated documentary about me called Street Fight, about fighting in urban politics and winning, but not sacrificing my soul. And what I know from the people that I most herald in my life as heroes, from Harvey Milk to Alice Paul, these are incredible Americans in the suffrage movement and the LGBTQ movement that found ways to fight by not sacrificing their truth. And the best example is we didn't beat Bull Connor by bringing bigger dogs and bigger fire hoses. Yeah. What they were able to do, which is what we need to do in this moral moment, is they were able to say, as bad as they are, George Wallace, Bull Connor, we are not going to become them. The challenge is to ignite the people who are bystanders to history. And by them standing in front of them, they were able to call to the conscience of this country, and thousands of people joined their fight. The reason why this bill, literally I have to motivate myself in the morning to come back for another day of fighting because this bill is so close to passing out of the Senate. And the reason why it is because right now, too many people's voices are not being heard. You know what Jefferson said. Jefferson said, when people fear their government, there is tyranny. When the government fears its people, there's liberty. Well, there are a whole bunch of senators here. How do I know it? Because they whisper it to me in the elevator that disagree with what Donald Trump is doing. But you know who they fear? They fear the president and his reprisals more than they fear the American people. Right. And you know what that means? That the equation to shift this lies on us, the American people, that telling those folks, if you vote against my health care, if you vote against my food stamps or my Meals on Wheels, if you vote against my disabled child, if you vote against the veteran in my state who just got fired by Doge, if you vote against them, I'm coming after your job. You better fear me more than you fear him because your days are numbered. And until we shift that equation, these guys are going to follow that man to their detriment. Right now, we have a Republican Party that is laying down when they know that what Hegseth tweeting out plans on Signal to reporters. They know that he's unqualified for that position. I can go through from the beginning of his administration to now how many things I know that they know is not right, but they're following it because they're afraid of him more than they're concerned about the American people. And so, look, I will not agree with everybody on everything, but the big challenge right now, the things that make me get up in the morning or go to bed at night feeling so shattered, is because I am not worried about the next election. Days now we are from, days of passing a bill out of this Senate that the majority of Republicans, Democrats, and Independents thinks is horrible. And it will have real effects on the kind of people I was with outside last night who are doing everything they can, if standing in the heat for hours, giving dollars to elected leaders like me who they believe in. These are the people we've got to fight for right now. This is the test of our character. This is the moral moment. And in the way they responded in the civil rights movement, in the suffrage movement, in the environmental movement, and so many things that have altered our labor movement, altered our country, this is another crossroads for our country. And I'm praying people, your audience, will think to themselves, what more can I do in this fight to make those Republicans listen to me? And if they fail, I'm going to stay involved and I'll make them answer for it in the next election.
You're good at this.
Thank you.
You should run for
Really
office.
I appreciate it. Right now, I just want to run some days, but we're going to all stay in the fight.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.